Hello and welcome everyone. I'm here with my trusty sidekick, Taco Jr., my doggy. And we have 9 crime movies to recommend to you today. Don't mind Taco Jr. biting on his treat. He's been a good boy. He's earned that. But starting at numero uno, we have The Element of Crime, ironically. Lars von Trier always does it differently. This is one of the first von Trier movies I've seen. It has a almost dream-like / depressing wave to it. Feels a lot different than most crime movies I've ever seen, and I have a good feeling this might be one that you have not seen yet either, unless you're a von Trier mega fan. And I want to say it's very different. There's a lot of thought and contemplation that can go into the movie after watching it, and I want to leave it at that because I don't want to give too much away, but definitely try to check this one out if you haven't seen it before. It's going to be a lot different than any type of crime movie you've really seen lately. And the next one is definitely a lot different too. My Son, What Have Ye Done? It's a Werner Herzog flick, but very, very much inspired by the producer of the film, and that producer is none other than the great David Lynch. It has this surrealist feel, and it was actually a review here on Letterboxd rather, that made me think about this film through the lens in which I actually think it was made, and that is, it tried to make the absolutely ludicrous feel mundane. And I feel like that's the sales pitch that you're going to need, because when you know it's done through this Lynchian lens, you're going to see what they were going for, how well they executed that, and it makes for a very distinct and unique crime film, and you probably have never seen anything like it if you have not seen My Son, What Have Ye Done yet. Coming in at number 3, we have The Young and the Damned. This is Buñuel, another surrealist creator of masterpieces. I recently got into Buñuel, and if you want to see a deeper dive on The Young and the Damned after you watch it, to see me and Matt's discussion about it, check out the channel. We have a podcast on that, and also another Buñuel movie, That Obscure Object of Desire. But this is a fairly straightforward film from Buñuel, who is very well known for his surrealist work in film. And it is about how circumstances can lead to kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, in which it is hard to break out of a very poor and poverty-stricken area. Really good, very well done. I think it's a great movie, and I would encourage anyone to check it out if you are not adverse to black and white movies and foreign movies. Staying on that kind of vein, we have Stray Dog by the great Akira Kurosawa. You know, you hear it's a crime recommendation video, and you think, well, I might not see Kurosawa here. It's not a samurai recommendation. Well, think again, because he has shown his ability to really nail any subject matter, or especially contemporary and samurai films. And when it comes to contemporary, crime always makes for a very interesting subject. Stray Dog follows the kind of diverging paths of 2 young men and where that takes them, one a cop, one a criminal, and how they very easily could have ended up on the opposite side, which is, I think, something, or more so a trope of crime movies nowadays, but this dates all the way back to 1949, and it's definitely interesting to see that through the lens of a cinematic genius being Akira Kurosawa. The next 2 films are very, very much related because the second was completely inspired by the first. The first being Hardcore, Paul Schrader film about a small town, suburban, Midwestern father who loses his daughter on a field trip and seeks to find her in ends up tripping into the world that is snuff film, and the second film being 8mm, led by the titular and always interesting Nicolas Cage. I highly recommend both of these films. I think when you see Hardcore first especially, you can see just how inspired 8mm was. 8mm started to lose me near the ending third or even the second half, because it does start to lose its rooted in realism ness that it had going for it in the first half. The first half I thought was absolutely tremendous, but it's still very interesting in the second half. It just kind of, it tries to get just do too much in the second half, quite honestly. Hardcore does maintain a rooted in realism-ness to it the whole way through. So I feel like if you're like me, you might prefer Hardcore more, but that doesn't mean that 8mm isn't worth seeing, because I feel like a lot of fans might actually prefer that. Especially if you like really, action-packed movies, it does become more geared towards that in the second half. Next, we have a short film about killing, which was actually a film that was adapted into a movie prior to the television release of the very infamous, or just famous rather, Polish television series, which is Decalogue, in which the director took the 10 Commandments and made an episode completely revolving around each of the 10 Commandments. And this film is inspired by murder. It is very gritty, very stomach-turning or shocking in the murder, and very bleak. And I think it actually, you see the numbness and carelessness of a murderer, and then you also get to see why it's so important from those who are defendants, lawyers that are defendants, why it is so important to try to defend the lives, because of the value of life in itself. I thought it was just really profound, super, super well done. This is a crime movie that if you haven't seen, definitely check it out, because it's one of the best. It's a foreign film, which I know might turn some people off, but trust me, this is one that it's definitely worth, the juice is worth the squeeze. And that's the best way to put it. Second to last, we have Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve. This is one of my favorite crime films. It's a more popular one. I think a lot of you probably have seen this already, but if you have not, this is my favorite Villeneuve film of his that I've seen so far. Look, this is a masterpiece. You have two top-tier performances by Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal, and the story is just top tier. Oh, also Paul Dano is absolutely brilliant in this film. Really great acting, great script, tremendous story. It is a crime film that, if you're into that type of stuff, which you're watching this video, you made it this far, you definitely are. You haven't seen Prisoners, you gotta check it out. And last but not least, from the mind of John Cassavetes, The Killing of a Chinese Bookie. I really was introduced to Cassavetes this calendar year, 2023, and I'm so freaking glad I did, because I went on a mini marathon of Cassavetes films, and The Killing of a Chinese Bookie is one of his best, and it's a crime film that makes everything, it's just told in a different lens. I mean, it's completely rooted in realism, but it has, as Cassavetes does best, his character work in writing scripts is where he truly, truly shines. And Ben Gazzara's character is just so enigmatic and interesting that it makes the whole film just feel tremendous and much watch. Absolutely great film, and a great last recommendation to check out amongst these. If you've seen any of these films, please let me know down in the comments below what you thought about them and whether you would recommend them yourself. And if not, which film would you recommend in its place. I was trying to go for some more obscure recommendations so that there would be at least one that people would be able to see. Now, obviously, film fiends such as myself might have seen all of these films already, but I'm going to be trying to make more of these recommendation videos with, picks that a lot of people might not have seen in the future. So I appreciate you checking this out. Be sure to like the video, subscribe down below whilst hitting the bell icon, and I will see you on the flippity floop. Bye, y'all.